Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. As a servant to the people of Queensland and Australia, I rise with enormous pride to say of the Greens MPI today, what a flog. The Greens have no understanding, let alone any deep understanding, because they rely on opinions, not data. I'll say it again. The Greens have no understanding, let alone any deep understanding, because they rely on opinions, not data. That is why the Greens cannot withstand scrutiny. Consider recent hurricanes in North Atlantic and North America, because Senator Wilson's recent claims have been dishonest. Firstly, I want to honour the sad loss of life in the Northern Atlantic. But then I want to say these facts. In the 10 years, 2007 to 2016, there were 10 hurricanes in the North Atlantic, North America area. In the 10 years, from 1950 to 1959, there were 18, almost double. In the 10 years, from 1910 to 1919, there were 21, slightly more than double the latest 10 years. And in the 10 years from 1880 to 1889, there were 27 hurricanes in that region, almost 3 times the current level. But let's consider the hurricanes that actually make landfall. In the last 12 years, there were none. Zip, zero. Strong landfalling cyclones are still declining over the last 120 years, even after Cyclone Irma. And that is why NASA, the North American Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, and the UN IPCC itself, that corrupt body, the IPCC itself, in their latest reports, all admit that hurricane activity is decreasing. But let's look at something else, because the Greens don't seem to be worried about deaths. The Greens deaths per year, per million population in the USA have decreased from almost 9 per million people in 1900 to almost 2 in 1920 and to almost 0 in 2010. They've gone from almost 9 deaths per million people per year in 1900 to almost 0 in 2010. These are facts, hard, measured data. North America's largest cyclone or hurricane tragedy was in the Galveston hurricane, where thousands died. Thousands. Similarly, the empirical evidence shows that there is no change in rainfall or flooding frequency or flooding severity or flooding duration. The floods in Brisbane in the 1890s were greater by far than the floods in any recent period in Brisbane recently. Drought severity, frequency, duration are lower now than in the past. Snowfall shows no changes. Temperature shows no changes, and I'll come back to that. Ocean alkalinity shows no changes. That's the pH level. It's alkaline, not acidic, as Galamas like to claim. Ocean alkalinity shows complete uniformity. Sea levels show nothing unusual. Polar ice caps are increasing in the Arctic and fluctuating naturally in the Arctic. There are no changes occurring in climate. So consider the Greens' implicit warming claimed in their MPI. Their last 2 words were global warming. So let's consider temperatures. In the last 22 years, that's more than half the satellite record, and that's known to be by far the most accurate record for measuring tropospheric atmospheric temperatures. More than half the temperature record in satellite measurements the last 22 years has shown no warming at all. In the last 160 years, the longest temperature trend was from the 1930s to 1976. 40 years of, wait for it, cooling. And that was at a time when humans increased markedly their production of carbon dioxide, but it cooled. In the 1880s and 1890s in Australia, they were warmer than today. Fact. The medieval warming period was warmer by far than today, globally. The Roman warming period, 1,000 years or so before the medieval warming period, was warmer again. So there is no warming, and in the absence of warming, we heard the claims global warming morph to global climate change. And now we hear the term extreme weather. The CSIRO has made 3 presentations to us since I entered the Senate, and we have torn apart every one of them. I'll be speaking more to that in the near future. The CSIRO cannot, in response to our request, prove anything unprecedented in climate. What's more, in the first of their presentations, they admitted there is no danger. More to come from that. But I want to get through and discuss the ramifications of this, because what the Greens are claiming by distorting the science is anti-human. The reality is that as a result of hydrocarbon fuels and human creativity, we have built levees and dams until the Greens arrive, and we can't build them anymore in Australia. We have better building codes, better zoning, and we're dropping subsidies for insurance. The data shows that human fatalities have decreased and are continuing to decrease. That's the reality. The fact is that ignorance and deceptions kill. And the poor in India and the poor in Australia pay. And that is why the Greens' position is anti-human. I am fiercely pro-human. And that's why I devoted 9 years to understanding the science, getting the empirical scientific evidence, and understanding cause and effect. Cause and effect. And that is why I remain pro-human.